Claire and I have been married for 7 years, but for the last year, she found an excuse to push me away every time I tried to get close. Until tonight. For the 10th time, I swallowed what was left of my pride and wrapped my arms around her, my voice a low plea. Claire, can we please try for a baby? Please? Her response was the same cold indifference. She shoved me off. Not tonight. Leo is sick. I promised his sister I'd look after him, and I need to go. This time, I didn't stay silent. I didn't back down. My voice was ice. I won't stop you, but I want a divorce. As soon as Claire hung up the phone, she pushed me away and started frantically straightening her clothes. Just as she was about to leave, I stopped her. Wait. She turned, her brow furrowed in annoyance. Ethan, are you serious right now? Leo's sister died for me. He has a 104-degree fever. You think I shouldn't go? Even for you, this level of jealousy is pathetic. A bitter coldness washed over me, but it made me smile. Go. I'm not stopping you, but we're getting a divorce. I used to tell myself her coldness was just stress from work, that I needed to be more understanding. But now, after she'd rejected me 10 times for an outsider, I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't accept a wife who had no concept of boundaries. I was done lying to myself, done sacrificing my own needs to keep the peace. Claire looked at me as if I'd just said something utterly insane, a mocking smirk playing on her lips. Are you done with your tantrum? I met her gaze, my voice quiet but unyielding. I'm not throwing a tantrum. I'm serious. Her expression finally hardened. You want a divorce just because I won't sleep with you. You can't meet the most basic needs of a partner. I'm choosing to leave. What's wrong with that? She didn't believe a word of it. Wow, Ethan. So now you're threatening me. Don't ever let me hear you say that again. Before she could finish, her phone rang again. She answered, and her voice instantly softened, becoming a completely different person. Leo, just hang on. I'm on my way. Don't you dare leave, I said, blocking her path. We're not finished here. She shot me a venomous look, her tone a clear warning. Don't waste any more of my time. If anything happens to Leo, I'll hold you responsible. She was convinced I wouldn't go through with it. After all, she had personally clipped all my wings. I had given up a skyrocketing career for her, content to be the man in the background, cooking, cleaning, managing her life, all because I thought it was love. But the moment she could fly, I was the first thing she jettisoned. Without her, I had no income. She was betting I wouldn't dare, that I couldn't. I laughed, the last bit of warmth in my heart extinguishing. Don't worry, he'll be fine, I said, my voice steady and cold. But you're wasting my time. If you have no objections, my lawyer will be in touch tomorrow. Whatever, she snapped, slamming the door behind her without a second glance. She assumed this was just like the last 9 times, an empty threat born of frustration. But this time she was wrong. This marriage was over. I stood before the massive floor-to-ceiling window, watching her black sedan disappear around the corner. My mind drifted back to my senior year of college, to the moment I stood on the podium at the Formula SAE National Championship. I was clutching the first-place trophy, an acceptance letter to a prestigious automotive engineering program in Medina, Italy, in my pocket. It was the dream destination for every aspiring car designer. Back then, Claire was just another face in the crowd, looking up at me. Then came graduation day. A truck lost control, barreling down the street toward us. Without a second of hesitation, she shoved me out of the way. In that moment, her love felt epic, like she would literally die for me. I was naive enough to believe that was true love, and I willingly let that act of salvation break my wings. Ethan, I don't want to do long distance. Ethan, I'm not ready for kids yet. I love you. I need to focus on my career, and I need you at home. I'll take care of you. Those gentle words became the sweetest shackles. I turned down the offer from Medina and married her. I even poured all of my savings into helping her launch her company, acting as her chief strategist. In the beginning, we were deeply in love. But as her career took off, my life took a step back. Then another and another. It started with postponing my own design studio plans and ended with me abandoning my career entirely. I went from cooking occasionally to being a full-time, stay-at-home husband. For the sake of this love, I had locked myself in this gilded cage. And slowly, the light of love for me in her eyes grew dim. I don't know when it started, but she began coming home smelling of liquor, her phone filled with contacts I didn't recognize, and she was adamant about not having children. Then, one day, she brought Leo home, introducing him as an obligation, an act of repayment. Ethan, his sister died, saving my life. We have to take care of him. It was the perfect excuse. And like a fool, I let myself be bound by the moral chains of duty and care, watching helplessly as her heart drifted further and further away. Just then my phone buzzed. It was a text from Claire. "Is this about money? Here's $5,000. Now stop bothering me." The number on the screen stung my eyes. This was what she meant by, "I'll take care of you." An allowance, just enough to maintain the facade of our perfect life. At the same time, another message popped up from an old friend, a tiny needle pricking my heart. "When are you making a comeback?" The whole scene misses its genius designer. Outside, the city lights began to sparkle, but they couldn't penetrate the desolate void inside me. The young man who once blazed across racetracks was now trapped in the prison of marriage, having to summon every ounce of courage just to leave. Claire would never understand that her condescending gaze cut deeper than any knife. She thought throwing money at me could compensate for the loss of my dignity, never realizing she was slowly killing the soul that once burned so brightly. Crack! I slammed my fist against the window. How did you let yourself become so pathetic? I roared at my reflection. I had once sworn to become one of the world's top automotive designers, to see my creations dominate international circuits. Now, my dreams were stuffed in a closet, and my last shred of self-respect had been ground into dust. I had become the very person I used to despise. This was not the life I wanted. After my outburst, I calmed myself and began methodically gathering my things. One folder was for the lawyer to handle the divorce. The other contained everything I needed to restart the dream I had shelved for years. My phone screen lit up. A text from Leo. "Mr. Cole, it seems your wife is more concerned about me. Looks like I win." The old me would have swallowed this for Claire's sake, for the sake of our home. But now, I couldn't care less about the title of Claire's husband. I wouldn't tolerate such a pathetic provocation. I would return it with interest. I took a screenshot and sent it straight to Claire's executive group chat. I was done with pretending, done caring about the consequences. I just wanted to hit back, to humiliate him instantly. As expected, the chat erupted. My phone buzzed uncontrollably as notifications poured in. What's this? Is Leo insane? Maybe we should stay out of the CEO's personal life. Every message was hesitant, a mix of shock and gossip, but no one dared say more, constrained by Claire's authority. Someone posted a few suggestive emojis, then quickly deleted them. Suddenly, my phone began to vibrate violently. Claire's name flashed on the screen, a glaring beacon of her fury. Without thinking, I held the power button and shut the phone off. The world went quiet. When Claire was first pursuing me, she would have listened to anything I said. But the woman she'd become was ruthless and iron-willed. Sure enough, it wasn't long before my father showed up at my door, looking flustered. "Ethan, are you and Claire fighting?" I didn't answer. In the past, I might have tried to smooth things over. Not anymore. My dad's brow was furrowed in his usual judgmental way. "Listen to me. Whatever happened, you need to be the one to apologize. Just go and say you're sorry." I looked at him coldly. "Why? Are you afraid she'll cut off your allowance?" The color drained from his face. He started rubbing his hands together nervously. "Why would you talk to me like that? I'm just trying to help you." "Help me?" I scoffed. "Is that what you said when you and Mom got divorced and dumped me with my grandparents without a second thought?" The memories came rushing back like a flood. When they split, my mother took my sister, and my father quickly remarried. I, a small child, was the leftover baggage. I clung to their suitcases, begging them not to go, but they pushed me away again and again. "Ethan, it's complicated right now. We have to do this. But once we're settled, we'll come back for you." I waited from age 6 to 20. They never got settled. My sister used to mock me over the phone. "You just like your name, Ethan. All you do is burn yourself out trying to warm others, but nobody actually wants you around." My stepmother's son would deliberately break my model cars. I spent winters washing vegetables for my grandma in ice-cold water until my hands were covered in chilblains. All the while, I'd see pictures my sister posted on Facebook of her new sneakers or photos of my dad taking his new son to an amusement park. The biggest joke of all? Years later, they got back together. They remarried, and they still didn't ask me to come home. I had parents, but they were ghosts who couldn't care less if I lived or died. That was a difficult time for everyone. I had my reasons. My dad's voice trailed off. Difficult. I shot up from my chair. Who paid for my sister's study abroad program? Where did the money for your new son's latest iPhone come from every year? When I was living with Grandma and couldn't even afford a workbook for school, where were you? Tears welled in his eyes. Your sister isn't doing so well now. She lost her job. What does that have to do with me? She's having a hard time. What about me? Am I supposed to sacrifice my life, my dignity, and my dreams just to earn a shred of their fake affection? I grabbed his coat and threw it toward the door. Get out. For as we struggled, a few receipts for brand new fishing gear fell out of his pocket. They were dated just 2 days ago. The sight was jarring. They didn't want me back. They just wanted to keep sucking the life out of my rich marriage. He scrambled to pick them up. No, these were a gift. When you two got divorced, I needed a father. I cut him off, my voice like steel. But I don't need one anymore. I ripped the receipts into tiny pieces. From this day on, I don't care if you live or die. Less than half an hour after he left, my mother called. I saw the word Mom flash on the screen and felt a wave of nausea. Ethan, your sister is getting married. She wants to buy a condo for a down payment, but she's short $1 million. I was wondering if you could. I laughed out loud. Doesn't she have a future husband and his family to rely on? Why is she asking me for money? How can you talk like that? She shrieked. She just wants her in-laws to respect her. Is that so wrong? If you want respect, you earn it yourself. Leeching off other people to keep up appearances isn't strength. It's pathetic, I said, enunciating every word. If she needs someone else to pay for her down payment, maybe she shouldn't be getting married at all. If you're doomed to a bad match, don't struggle against it. I hung up and immediately blocked her number. The world was finally completely silent, but I couldn't forgive the man I had become. I had fought so hard against myself, against fate, never admitting defeat. I did it all to break free from this, to live my life with dignity. And yet, I had turned myself into a joke. Marriage wasn't my salvation. It was just a more beautiful cage, one where I had completely lost myself. The next day, I went straight to Claire's company. Leo, in his role as her special assistant, carried himself with the arrogance of a co-owner. Mr. Cole, Ms. Rivers isn't in. I ignored him and walked toward her office. He hurried to block my path. She's really in a meeting. He reached out to grab me, but I sidestepped him. Mr. Cole, he suddenly yelled, his eyes turning red on command. I know you have a problem with me, but there's nothing going on between me and Claire. I just had a fever that night. It was 1:04. She couldn't just leave me. Nice acting, I said, pulling out my phone and hitting record. Keep going. I'll get a clear shot and post it in the company-wide Slack so everyone can weigh in. Leo's face changed instantly, and he lunged for my phone. I took a step back, and he somehow managed to trip over his own feet, falling to the ground in an exaggerated heap. He deserved an Oscar. Even as he fell, he remembered to tear his shirt open a little, exposing his collarbone. Ethan! Claire's voice echoed down the hall. She stormed over, helped Leo to his feet, and then turned to me with fury in her eyes. What did you do to him? Before I could say a word, she shoved me violently against the wall. My back slammed into a fire extinguisher box, the metal edge digging painfully into my spine. First, you demand a divorce, and now you come to my office and start a fight. Claire, don't. Leo whimpered, tugging at her sleeve. Ethan didn't mean it. Apologize to him. Claire commanded. Bam! I swung my fist and connected squarely with Leo's face. Claire froze. Leo was stunned. I pointed up at the security camera on the ceiling. Are you sure you wanted to pull the footage and see who really owes who an apology? Leo clutched his face, his guilt obvious. Claire, it's all a misunderstanding. Let's not fight over me. Claire's expression was thunderous, but I knew the truth. Even if she saw the footage, she'd find a way to defend him. I wanted to punch them both, but what was the point? I wasn't here to fight. I was here to end it. Let's just talk about the divorce. The second we were in her office, before I could speak, Claire confronted me. Before we talk about anything, you're going to explain what that message in the executive chat was all about yesterday. Fine, I said. I picked up my phone and, right in front of her, sent another batch of photos to the same group. It was a timeline of her and Leo entering and leaving a hotel together, perfectly aligning with the dates of her supposed business trip. Claire's face went pale. You were following me? Did I need to? I glanced at Leo. Your assistant here brags about it to me every month. It's not what you think between Leo and me. Then what is it? I stared directly into her eyes. A deep platonic bond. The office was dead silent. The lawyer cleared his throat awkwardly, and Claire finally remembered he was in the room. She loosened her tie and suddenly softened her tone. Ethan, let's talk about this alone. She never thought I would actually leave. Talk about what? I leaned back in a chair. About your thing for guys in their early 20s? I pointed to the small mole under Leo's eye. Is it because he looks like I used to, but isn't really me at all? Claire's pupils contracted. Leo looked bewildered. I just smiled. You're so sentimental, Claire. I'm still standing right here. And you're already trying to relive the past with a cheap substitute? No, Ethan, that's not it. Let me explain. She was genuinely panicking now. I stood up, looking down at her, and cut her off. You don't love me. You love the 20-year-old me. But Claire, the 30-year-old you, is no longer worthy of him. And you have no idea how to appreciate the 30-year-old man I've become. So, let's just let it go. She had loved the brilliant, fearless, untamable man I was on the racetrack. But she forgot that man was never meant to belong to anyone. Especially not to her. The divorce papers. Read them. I pushed the documents across the desk before she could respond. If there are no issues, sign them. Leo could barely contain his excitement. Claire was utterly terrified. She had always believed my threats of divorce were just outbursts of anger, never imagining I would take it this far. But in front of everyone, her pride wouldn't let her back down. She lashed out, her voice laced with menace. Ethan, what do you think you'll have after this? You're 30, no job, no income. You'll have nothing without me. I don't care. My voice was cold. I had nothing before we got married. Either. Back then, all I had were my dreams and myself. I never depended on anyone, including you. And now, that hasn't changed. I have nothing to fear. Claire, not expecting such resolve, lost her composure and resorted to stonewalling. I'm not signing. Ethan, you can forget about it. The untethered Ethan was still captivating to her, but he was also completely out of her control. She had no intention of letting me go. Leo chimed in with fake concern. Ethan, don't be rash. There's nothing between me and Claire. You shouldn't throw away years of history over a misunderstanding. I turned to him, my expression calm. You're desperate for us to divorce, so you can step up and be her new kept man. Yet here you are, pretending to be the peacemaker. Don't you get tired of trying to be me? The color drained from his face. Shut up. Claire suddenly exploded, grabbing the divorce papers and ripping them to shreds. I will never divorce you. I watched the confetti of paper settle on the floor, completely unfazed. Since you're unwilling to do this amicably, my only option is to file with the court. You wouldn't dare, she seethed. I had nothing more to say. I turned and walked out, leaving the rest to my lawyer. As the door closed behind me, I heard a hysterical scream. Back in the office, only Claire and Leo remained. Leo stepped behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Claire, don't be angry. If he's so determined to leave, just let him go. You still have me. I'll never leave you. Claire violently ripped his hands off her, throwing him back with such force he nearly fell. Claire, Leo stared at her, stunned. She turned, her eyes fixed on the face he had so carefully crafted to mimic mine. The mole, the way he spoke, all of it was a calculated act. She had known all along. She had just been too captivated by the memory of the old me, a fire she couldn't resist, and had allowed herself to get lost in it. We're done. Her voice was glacial. The blood drained from Leo's face. What did you say? Starting today, I never want to see you again. Claire regretted everything. She suddenly realized she couldn't lose me. Are you crazy? Leo shrieked, his mask of obedience shattering completely. For him, he doesn't want you anymore. Can't you see that? Claire's eyes turned dangerously dark. She advanced on him, backing him up against the cold glass of the window wall. Don't you dare speak his name. She hissed, each word a poison dart. The man he was is 100 times brighter and cleaner than you. You're not even worthy of being his shadow. Now, with a net worth in the billions, she was confident she could tame me again. A cold smile touched her lips. And another thing, your sister didn't die for me. Leo's pupils shrank. You, you knew. I know far more than you can imagine, Claire said, pressing the intercom button on her desk. Security, please escort Leo Hayes from the building. Revoke all of his access credentials, effective immediately. Claire, Leo lunged at her hysterically. Without my sister, you'd be dead. You promised her you would take care of me for the rest of my life. Your sister was drunk and fell into the river, Claire said, grabbing his wrist, her gaze like a knife. I was passed out on the bank nearby. She didn't die, saving me. Leo crumpled to the floor as if all the strength had been sucked out of him. The lie he had carefully constructed for years was a sham she had seen through from the start. Why, he whispered. Why expose it now? Claire looked out the window in the direction I had gone. Her voice was barely audible, because today he reminded me of the woman I used to be. The woman who once loved Ethan Cole with such pure desperation. A love that made her feel small and insecure. A love that drove her to orchestrate an accidental meeting just for the chance to get closer to him. The Ethan she fell for was like a wild wind, fierce and free, never stopping for anyone. But she had wanted to hold that wind in her hand. Eventually, the wind died down, and she forgot why she had fallen in love in the first place. Until today, when it seemed the wind was starting to blow again, and her heart was still skipping a beat. After Claire left, Leo started to laugh quietly to himself. The Claire of today was in love with a ghost, a shadow of the young Ethan Cole. But the Ethan of today was no longer in love with her. She thought he had changed, forgetting that she was no longer the same girl she used to be. When I got home, I had my lawyer file the divorce petition. At the same time, I started my application for a graduate program at a renowned engineering school abroad. Claire's retaliation was swift and brutal. The next morning, every single one of my bank and credit cards was frozen. My phone buzzed with a text from her. Had enough? Come back, and I'll forget about what happened. She thought she could choke me with money, force me back into that gilded cage. It was laughable. The old me had survived on the streets. The man I was now had more than enough ways to make it on my own. While she was gone, I took the designer watches, the limited edition model cars, and even the pretentious art pieces she'd bought to decorate the penthouse, and listed them all on eBay for a quick sale. It was compensation for the years I had dedicated to our home. It was also the seed money for my new life. As a buyer was leaving, I was counting the cash, my suitcase packed by the door. Sir, the housekeeper said, looking uncomfortable. It's Mr. Cole. I corrected her, zipping my bag. And by the way, that spare car in the garage, she never drives? Sell it for me. When Claire found out, she was furious. Another text came through immediately. You're nothing without me, Ethan. Let's see how long you can last. You'll come crawling back to me. I quickly found a job at a garage an old friend recommended. It was hard work, but the feeling of purpose with grease on my hands was far more satisfying than the hollow luxury I'd left behind. I started sketching designs again, the friction of pencil on paper reigniting the passion for my dormant automotive dream. That old, familiar fire was still there. But I knew Claire wouldn't give up easily. The first week was quiet. The second week, the garage owner approached me, looking deeply uncomfortable. Hey, Ethan, I'm really sorry, man, but I can't keep you on. He wrung his hands, avoiding my eyes. Someone from up high made a call. Did you piss someone important off? I understood immediately. I just hadn't expected her to stoop so low. I didn't argue. I took my meager pay and left. My second job was at a custom car shop. I didn't even last 3 days. The owner was blunt. Look, dude, it's not you. Someone put the word out. Anyone who hires you is making an enemy of Rivers Corp. We're a small business. We can't afford that kind of heat. After that, every resume I sent out vanished into a black hole. The few interviews I landed were mysteriously canceled at the last minute. Claire called again, her voice dripping with condescending pity. So, Ethan, how's life on the outside? It's not so easy, is it? Just come home, admit you were wrong, and I'll let you be the respectable Mr. Cole again. I'll even agree to have a baby right away. On my end of the line, I was standing in a stuffy, cramped apartment, polishing a set of wrenches. Claire, I said, my voice calm but laced with icy contempt. You think this is going to break me? You're wrong. The one thing I'm not afraid of is starting from scratch. You, she sputtered, unprepared for my defiance. Her voice turned shrill. Ethan, don't be a fool. You can't even survive without me. Your pathetic little dreams are worthless. She truly believed I was past my prime, that chasing those dreams now was a joke. But she was wrong. My worth has never been defined by you. I hung up. My resistance enraged her. She couldn't stand losing control, but her pride was too great to come and beg me to return in person. So, she resorted to an even viler tactic. That evening, I returned to my apartment to find my estranged parents waiting for me. My mother stood there in an expensive coat that was completely out of place in the shabby room. Her first words a sharp rebuke. Ethan, how can you be so selfish? How dare you try to divorce Claire? You get back there right now and apologize. My father stood beside her, adding his support while his eyes greedily scanned the room for anything of value. Exactly. Who's going to want you after Claire? Don't be an idiot. I looked at them, a cold understanding dawning on me. Claire must have promised them something, or threatened to cut them off, to make these two, who hadn't cared about me for years, suddenly so concerned. My life is none of your business. What do you mean? None of our business. I'm your mother, she shrieked. Claire said if you go back, everything can be fixed. Do you really want to suffer in this dump and embarrass all of us? Embarrass you? I almost laughed. Compared to you two, who are willing to sell your own son back into misery for money, I think earning an honest living is pretty damn dignified. You ungrateful brat. My father took a step forward as if to hit me. I grabbed the wrench I'd been cleaning and held it firmly in front of me, my eyes flashing with menace. Get out, or I can't guarantee what I'll do the next time Claire sends her messengers. They were taken aback by my intensity and left, muttering curses and threats that I would regret this. The door slammed shut, and the world was quiet again. I leaned against it, a wave of exhaustion washing over me. But my resolve had never been stronger. Claire, the more you push, the more you prove I made the right decision. You want to see me beg? Never going to happen. The old Ethan clawed his way out of the mud. The man I am today will shatter this wall of despair with my own two hands and forge a new path. I would rather exhaust myself in this greasy garage than ever go back to her and beg for a love that had long since spoiled into charity. Absolutely not. Finally, after 5 months, the divorce was finalized by the court. On the very same day, I received my acceptance letter from the university in Medina, Italy. Claire was standing outside the courthouse, clutching the legally binding divorce decree. Her usually perfect makeup was smudged, and her eyes were dark with exhaustion. She looked like a defeated peacock. She couldn't understand it. She had apologized, even promised to cut ties with Leo completely. Why wouldn't I come back? A man in his 30s should know how to weigh the pros and cons. Bowing to reality was a mandatory lesson for adults. Ethan, why? Her voice was raw. I got rid of Leo. He's gone forever. I can give you shares in the company. Just come back. She just wanted me back. She believed everything could start over. I calmly arranged the documents in my briefcase, including the acceptance letter from Medina. Did you know? I began, looking at her with cold detachment. When I was 6 years old, I found a torn-up car magazine in a junkyard. It was the first time I realized there was a place in the world where you could turn your passion into your life's work. But you clipped my wings. You stripped me of my dignity. You didn't like that version of Ethan. And just like you, I hate the man I became when I lost myself. Claire swallowed hard. She reached out to touch me, but her hand froze in midair. I can give you anything you want. I'll send you to Italy. I'll buy you the best apartment, the best car. Ethan, let's start over. And then what? I laughed softly. Turn me into another Leo, or destroy my dreams all over again. I carefully placed the letter back in my bag. Claire, you never understood. I never wanted charity. I gave you a chance once, thinking you could understand me. But you only proved that you would drag me into an even deeper abyss. True love is a two-way street, not a one-sided sacrifice. Claire suddenly grabbed my wrist, her grip painfully tight. Then what do you want me to do? I'll change, I promise. I want to leave you. I want to find the man I used to be. I pried her fingers off me one by one. I want the Ethan who could fly down a racetrack against the wind, who lived a brilliant life, who had the courage to chase anything. The man I am right now. If my family was toxic, I'd cut them out. If my marriage was a prison, I'd break it down myself. If anyone dared to stand in my way, I'd run them over. Claire staggered back a step, as if struck in the heart. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. I turned and walked toward the airport shuttle without a hint of hesitation. The city blurred past the window. In the reflection, I saw a 30-year-old man with fine lines around his eyes, but his gaze was brighter and clearer than it had ever been. 6 months later, in Italy, I saw a news headline. Rivers Corp in massive financial crisis, declares bankruptcy. CEO Claire Rivers' whereabouts unknown. Claire would never know. The man I'd become not only had the courage to start over, but also the ruthlessness to not let those who trampled his dignity get away with it. It was me. On the day of our divorce, I had anonymously reported her company for the tax evasion schemes Leo had helped her run. 5 years later, the pit lane at the Monza racetrack. Reporters shoved microphones in my face, firing questions one after another. Mr. Cole, as the first American to become a chief engineer for a top international racing team, what was the inspiration for the new aerodynamic package on this year's car? I ran my hand over the sharp, aggressive lines of the carbon fiber. Fire, I said. It represents the life force that is forged under extreme pressure. No matter how many times it's challenged, it always pushes upward, always moves forward against the wind. Meanwhile, back in the States, in the passenger seat of a dingy driver's ed car, a haggard-looking Claire stared at her phone. On the screen was the brilliant, triumphant man she once knew, and she bit her lip so hard it nearly bled. At 35, Ethan Cole had defied the odds and climbed to the pinnacle of his world. She had lost him for good. Half an hour later, a friend texted me that Claire had been in a serious car accident, drunk driving, and was in critical condition. But that had nothing to do with me anymore. During the post-race interview, the big screen played a short documentary about my team's development of the car. The final frame was a photo of me from college, the day I won the national championship. I was standing on my car, trophy held high, with a storm of confetti and a cheering crowd behind me. The audience erupted in applause. At 35 years old, Ethan Cole was finally living the life he had always dreamed of,